Hey everyone, Jacob Paulson here to talk to you today about the Cool Fire Trainer. The Cool Fire Trainer is a dry fire training toolkit used to essentially modify your real gun into something you can use for dry fire and still get somewhat realistic recoil. The company's been around now for, I don't know, about 2-3 years, and I first heard about this from Mike Seeklander and then later from our director of training here at concealedcarry.com, Riley Bowman. They're both very enthusiastic about this tool. At first I was turned off a little bit by the price, but I've noticed that it's come down a little bit, it's become more modular, and I really appreciate the number of guns it's now available for. Unlike some other dry fire tools, you can really get this for a large number of guns. And some of you might own a gun that really there's no other realistic training gun like it. I mean, Glock, yeah, I'm running this on a Glock 19 today, and there's other training guns that are like Glock 19s, but some of you run guns that are very unique and different and not as mainstream, and you might be able to find the Cool Fire Trainer for your gun, but you can't buy a dedicated training gun that's comparable really to your gun. So I think there's a lot of benefits to Cool Fire Trainer, and not only is it about same size and shape, but the Cool Fire Trainer does not change anything about your actual trigger travel and reset. You're using your sights. Everything about the gun is still your gun. It's just operating on air instead of live ammo. So pretty slick. So it comes in a nice little kind of kit like this, nice little kind of pouch, Cool Fire Trainer right on it. It has some nice instructions and information like that. And you can optionally buy a couple of things. You can buy like an air tank like this one, which I have, and the appropriate adapter for it. You can also buy an optional laser tool, which I think is important to have if you're going to run this system. I think that's a good thing to have. Then it comes with some other like maintenance related product in here as well. So to install, it's really simple. I'm going to take my Glock 19, which is clear. There's nothing in here, and we're going to go ahead and break this down. Okay, and we're just going to remove the recoil spring and the barrel. Now you wouldn't want to confuse these. The barrels are obviously not very easy to confuse because the Cool Fire Trainer barrel is red. The recoil spring, you shouldn't have trouble telling them apart either. It's pretty obvious, but just make note of what the differences are so you don't confuse your recoil springs. Now I'm going to place in the Cool Fire Trainer barrel and recoil spring. Okay, and slide it right back on the gun. That's it. I've now installed Cool Fire Trainer. One other thing that is wise is it comes with kind of this little magazine insert thing. And when you insert this in the gun, it's just going to prevent slide lock. It's going to make it so the follower doesn't come up in the gun and engage slide lock. And you're going to want to have that installed if you want to have your mag in there at all. So that would be wise. That would be good. And that'll prevent slide lock, so that the slide can cycle without locking up. So that's good. Now to charge this thing, the air, whether you have kind of the paintball style tank or one of the smaller ones, you take the CO2 and you charge it right on, believe it or not, the front here of the muzzle. Something like this. Clearly that's charged. You get a nice little sound, a little pop there, and we're good to go. And now we have a functioning dry fire, Cool Fire Trainer gun. It's really simple. Like I said, everything about this gun is the same as it always has been. I'm just going to get some recoil now. Pretty straightforward, right? So the recoil is, as far as I'm concerned, is it realistic? No, it's not normal recoil, but is it as close as I can get in a simulated environment? As far as I'm concerned, it is. It recoils more than airsoft, and more than anything else I've ever seen that is simulated. I suppose simulation rounds or UTM rounds, they probably have a little bit more realistic recoil. But as far as a dry tool that I can just set up and run as much as I want, I don't think you're going to be able to beat that. So I'm a pretty big fan of the way the recoil feels. Now, I like having the optional laser insert. It just screws here into the end like so. Okay, and assuming the batteries are good and all that stuff, now I'm going to get a laser. I don't know if you can see that on the camera real well, but we're getting a laser dot. And it does seem to move a little bit because obviously it fires, and then as the gun is cycling, as it's recoiling, that laser might drag a little bit. But it works really well, and I've not had that be a problem when I use it with like LASR or any of those other training targets or software. Now the air is only going to last so long. When you go to Cool Fire Trainer's website, it'll tell you approximately how many shots you're going to get, and that's going to vary by gun. Obviously, Glock 19's got a smaller barrel, and that's where the air is being stored, so it's not going to get as many shots per charge as like a Glock 17. It's a little bit longer. So check your gun and find out how many shots you're going to get out of it. In this case, the Glock 19, there we go. The Glock 19 they advertise as getting about 15 shots, which is pretty appropriate since a Glock 19 holds 15 rounds. So it's sort of like getting a full magazine of fire. Now that said, it's not like you're getting a realistic reload, because when the air runs out, you can't just reload mags and then keep shooting. You're still out of air, right? So if I fire 15 shots and then I perform a reload and push in a new mag, right, and go again, it's not gonna just keep on shooting. I'm still out of air. So I do have to stop every 15 shots, and I have to recharge the air. And if I'm using the laser insert, I have to take that off every time I recharge the air, just by nature. You also have to remove it in order to uninstall it. So here we go, we have a full charge. We have the laser insert installed. I'm all out of air, right? And I need to perform a reload and go again. But again, I need to stop and recharge the air. So pretty slick system. Now mine's pretty new. I haven't been using it too long, but I did ask some people who have had it for a long time what, if anything, they've seen as far as durability goes or maintenance. And everyone I've talked to has said, in terms of durability, it seems to last really well. No one's had any issues that would require something to be replaced. Now there are O-rings that probably need to be replaced. There's O-rings, I think, in the barrel system, certainly right here where the laser attaches, where the air attaches. In this adapter that I have on the tank, there's an O-ring on there. And so it does come with some of the replacement parts that you might need, but if you ever ran out of O-rings or other little things like that, if you need to grease it or whatever this is, it comes with some of that Teflon grease. So there might be some maintenance required, just like your real gun, to keep this really smooth and operational. But as far as durability, everyone's telling me that they've seen it last a long time. Our director of training, Riley Bowman, he's got thousands and thousands of cycles with his Coolfire trainer, and he's not had any issues with it at all, outside of just having to do some of that standard ongoing maintenance. I think it's important to note, with this thing, that is it realistic recoil? No, it's not. But something to consider is that even though it's not realistic recoil, what you really need when you're training, in dry fire as it relates to recoil is certainly, making sure you hold the solid grip, but also the acquisition of the sights, right? I want to train my eye when I fire and those sights move a little bit assuming I have a good solid grip, I'm doing all those fundamental things right, I want to train myself to reacquire those sights as fast as possible. So running this on my real gun means I'm using my real sights. So different than a training gun where they might not be the same sights as my gun. When I'm practicing that, I want that recoil so I can learn to acquire those sights over and over again to get as accurate follow-up shots as possible. And so I think that's a real big advantage of Coolfire Trainer, is that, yeah, I'm not getting the same recoil as I would in live fire, but I'm getting somewhat of a realistic recoil so that at least my sights are leaving the target, even if it's just slightly, and I'm able to train myself to reacquire those sights. And even with target transitions, right? So if I'm going from here to this target over here, I can do that, and I can practice acquiring the sights and doing that with somewhat of a recoil. And I think that there's a lot of value to that as a tool. So with that said, guys, make sure you check the link below the video or in the description to learn more about Coolfire Trainer. I think it's a great product. I think it's worth what they charge for it, and I think you can have a great experience with the Coolfire Trainer.